Hi, Zizaran here, and I wanted to give like a little sum up of all the things that I thought about the patch notes. Even though the patch notes aren't like super long, talk a little bit about what I'm the most excited about and the changes that stood out to me the most. Overall, I'm fairly happy, maybe slightly disappointed with a few things. A lot of people have a little bit of mixed opinions here on the curse skills. The curse skills in general, I think they made them sound a little bit boring, and I guess we just don't really know enough yet, but at least for me, they initially sound a little bit boring. I'm not saying they will be weak. I think if they will be strong, I think they are going to be even really good starters. There's just something about them, I'm not even 100% sure why, but like, it's like, especially like the way the marks work, sounds a little bit like, Assassin's Mark probably being the best one, because obviously there's no penalty with the new mark skills is one of the big changes. So like normally a curse on a boss would get quite a lot of like effectiveness penalty, whereas the mark skills have 0 penalty. Even though the value might be lower now, you do actually get the straight up 49% against the boss. There's also no way to do anything like curse on hit with a mark. You actually have to either get it on a ring with mark on hit, or you have to mark it with a mark skill and self-mark. It's great if your name is Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
I guess I'm just not a huge fan of the rework. I do actually think and hope that the curse rework is going to be fucking amazing and really cool. So fairly hopeful, just so you know. Initial impression, not amazing. Now, there's only 2 steel skills really talked about here in the patch notes. And Lancing Steel looked very underwhelming in the video. I was very like not excited about how it looked, but and even less excited by seeing the stats. However, Shattering Steel looks bonkers in every way. So much so that I think I'm going to be doing a champion Shattering Steel starter, not for me to play myself and race, but to make a league starter for you guys. 100% of base damage at level 1 up to 127 base damage at level 20, and he gets a shit ton of flat added. 113 to 169, something that skills like this struggle with a lot. Very excited for Shattering Steel. It just looks amazing. I'm very happy with it. Next up, we have Firestorm. This is another thing that I hopefully will be making a starter for. Not 100% sure if it's going to be like self-cast, ignite with prolif and things like that, or like something to maybe still use with Spellslinger, even though there are Spellslinger nerfs. But it looks very exciting. It's not that exciting with Spellslinger, to be honest. Because the way how it works with you can only have a couple down at the same time. 3, actually. Firestorm just looks so cool. I'm very excited. Definitely want to make a starter. It's very high up on my list. Glacial Cascade, now bringing back player shotgunning with AoE overlap again. It looks like it could be an insanely strong Saboteur Mine starter with crazy boss damage, I'm assuming. So fairly excited for that too, and it now has full conversion without anything else. Personally, not really my playstyle. I've never really liked the GC miners. They do like more fun now. And then we have Discharge, probably the most busted thing I've seen on paper. Like, we need to see how it is in practice. Obviously, there's a cooldown on Discharge without the threshold rule, but it just looks so insane. So very excited to see how this turns out. Having a damage effectiveness of 450, and you can see how much like damage it has per power charge removed. Like, it's insane amounts. Now, the fact that it has this much flat, first of all, that's insane. It's like actually like it's gonna be one-shotting bosses and doing like crazy amounts against bosses here. But the fact that it has that much, even though the damage effectiveness is 450, which obviously when something has this high damage effectiveness, which if you aren't 100% sure how this works, that's how well it converts flat added damage to spells, for example, into the damage on like the actual damage. So if we get like 10 flat added lightning, it's gonna be times 4.5. That is insane and makes it like kind of exciting with Spellslinger. But the fact that it's getting this much flat, I think Discharge is probably going to be the strongest skill this league, just at a glance. As far as like Spellslinger goes, that is very exciting because of the damage effectiveness, but then it's also less exciting because of how much base lightning or base damage it is from the lightning fire or cold charges, depending on what you want to go. The thing that I would want to do here, I would want to make like a Chieftain Ignite Prolif League starter, And then, you know, anything like cool or lightning charges is probably going to be something that you're more going to want to have the discharge threshold rule for there. But so much potential in this skill. Mjolnir's probably going to be really expensive. Very excited for it in general. The vitality changes, well, I think they're pretty exciting in general, and I think they're good changes. They're sort of like taken away from with the Watcher Sign nerf, which I'm very, very against, and we'll talk about them later. But I feel like that they're taking chase items out of the game, and PoE is a game that needs more chase items, not less. Huge nerf for Bull Lightning. I've said it once and I'll say it again, but every time that Chronogear Games nerfs a skill in multiple ways, they always overshoot, I feel, by like anything from 20 to 40%. So obviously, I think this is was it a 30% or something damage nerf? I can't remember the exact number, and I'm bad at math. But it's a pretty decent, sizable chunk in just the damage nerf, 20 or 30% or something. And then you have the radius being nerfed, and base radius being nerfed very bad as well. So it's actually a very large Bull Lightning nerf. Now, Bull Lightning is currently in a very overpowered state, so I don't think it's going to be trash. It'll probably just be like more in line with other skills. We'll see. Maybe it was a little bit heavy-handed, basically, is what I'm saying. Probably a little bit heavy-handed. Intensify getting basically a damage buff when you're taking the +1 seal or whatever it's called on the skill tree. Currently, we have access to 5 stacks of Intensify, 4 from the gem and 1 from the skill tree, but now we're going to have access from 3 +1, so slight upgrade there. I think it was like 8%. That was 88% instead of 80. So should be cool. Spellslinger support, and it has a cooldown of 0.6 from 0.5, and it's getting more cooldown recovery rate. So it's actually a slight buff on cooldown recovery rate, making it slightly, you know, the nerf is less severe for things like Volatile Dead Spellslinger or something that's actually using the cooldown. Obviously, things like Chaos Spellslinger is more heavily affected by this, because being able to throw your Essence Drain into a mob isn't going to increase your damage. Like, throwing it more often isn't going to increase your damage. And has a 30% mana reservation override at level 1, down to 25 at level 20. I have actually made a quick simulation here. So yeah, this is a quick simulation on like Chaos Slinger. So I'm only able to use a Void Manipulation as the only Soul Run support, not able to fit LMP at all. I have a Contagion with Spellslinger, and then we have Void Manipulation, FXC, Spellslinger, and Essence Drain. So obviously ED doing the heavy lifting here with Soul Run for a little bit additional damage. As you can see, like, damage is generally pretty okay. Single target is going to be a bit low, but you do have access to, you could use like Bane and a Curse, and play around with the Curse things there. But it's still very much playable. Mana might be an issue, but either way, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm not a big fan of this, and how I don't like Chronogear Games' approach to leveling related items, or anything like that in particular. So Spellslinger and its place in the game right now, it's very strong for leveling, maybe a little bit too strong, but it's a very, very fun way for a lot of people to level right now. And then end game, you have a lot of people, like for example, a lot of people play Spellslinger, Volatile Dead, Desecrate, Detonate Dead on day 1, and a lot of those people end up changing out to Archmage, Cremation, Selfcast in the late game, because it's a struggle for a lot of players to get enough single target damage on Spellslinger. It's not always the easiest thing to really get like a high single target on, but it does feel really good, so a lot of people quite like the ability. Now, in my opinion, that itself is fairly balanced, right? Yes, you can play Spellslinger, but you're going to struggle with single target. That'll be a struggle, and you'll have to invest hard into that. I think that's fair, and feel free to disagree with that. That's completely valid, but that's how I view it. And another side thing here is that right now you have a very large portion of your player base that hate the campaign, and they hate leveling characters the 2nd or 5th or 10th time. Now, there's where you have an amazing opportunity to do have something that's maybe fun for leveling, but then scales not as great and requires a very, very big investment, like Spellslinger. So like making it like scale pretty okay early, but then maybe not as good late, is completely okay. Having like skills that are like really cool for getting you through the campaign. And I want to bring up a thing that I'm very passionate about here. I feel like Chronogear Games always end up removing things that are specifically good for leveling, in my opinion, without really having a great reason for doing so. And there's a couple of reasons why I want to talk about this. Because Chris Wilson once said, they feel like if we can get a player to maps, we've got them, right? The player is probably like really enjoying Path of Exile at this point, and will continue playing the game. So that's like seems like counterproductive to me then, to make leveling even worse. So what I mean with this is, for example, the removal of the Delve leveling gloves, the removal of high-level essences being able to be used on low-level items, and especially things that are very like, either related to fossils or endgame items being able to be used on new characters. Um, Darkness Enthroned, or whatever the unique Stygian device is called, is amazing. That should definitely stay in the game. The fact that you can get something from an endgame boss that can really, really help a little bit in leveling, I think that's great, because it's not changing the day one leveling, it's not changing your first character, but then later, with a little bit of investment and a little bit of help from your endgame character, you can make your 2nd, 5th, and 10th character and whatever get through the campaign easier. Now, for like people like, this isn't really a thing that affects me and myself and like players like Tai Killer and like really fast racers, because we're going through the campaign very quickly anyway. So if you're cutting our time from 4 hours to 2 hours, that's not a big deal. But for a new player or somebody like that doesn't level very fast, you could be shaving off 6 hours off their time of something they might already feel like is a chore, it's tedious, and like this, for a lot of players, like we were talking about it and talking to my viewers quite a lot, and a lot of people feel like, being able to level characters easier is very encouraging for them to do those new characters. I want to talk a little bit about the Ascendancy changes, or a lack thereof. I'm very surprised. I was expecting more, I guess. Maybe they just haven't had enough time, but I feel like Ascendancy has barely been looked at lately. The Assassin is barely touched. Completely okay, to be fair. It's any build that you were thinking, hey, I'm gonna go Assassin as my league starter. This is not what is gonna be like, oh, now I'm not doing it. It's a non-issue. It's fine. Necro, definitely more of a nerf, and Glancing Blow has been nerfed as well. So Necro and Glancing Blow getting nerfed. I think the Necro changes are fine. I think we might see an increase in people playing Ascendant with Necromancer and Gladiator, and then going for pure block. Again, as I've talked a little bit about the changes with GGG nerfing things in multiple ways. Not only are they nerfing Glancing Blows, giving like it's 30% more damage taken, because instead of 50%, it's 65% damage that bypasses the block now. So yeah, you're effectively taking 30% more damage. And on top of that, they've made it like in a worse position for Thread of Hope, so you can't get Glancing Blows with Thread of Hope now. Which, again, like now we're most likely just not going to be taking Glancing Blows and going for pure block instead, which is stronger but will require slightly more investment. But yeah, this a little bit. I think Glancing Blows deserved a nerf, but I still would have used it probably at 60% and being in the correct position, but 65% and a bad position. I feel like it just makes more sense to just invest fully into block instead. As far as unique items, not that many like crazy changes. There are made like some things with instead of having specifically shock effect, there's now things like lightning effect. That means it'll affect both shock and sap, or like cold doing chill and brittle, and fire being scorch and ignite. So that's really cool. I think that's a step in the right direction, that we can get more effect on these. Life regen has been changed on items, which is I mean, step in the right direction, I guess, but I don't know, a little bit underwhelming. This I'm very excited for, Chimera's Avarice. This is the upgraded Chimera's Mole through Prophecy. And the Icicle skill is really cool, and something I really wanted to make a build around, similar to how I did Light Poacher in the past. But the fact that it was on kill made that very, very hard. Now that it's on hit, I would love to make a meme build with Chimera's Avarice. I don't know if they stack. Can I use 2 of these? That would be really cool. But the fact that it's like Icicle skill on frozen hit, like I think that mob needs to be frozen. I can't remember without seeing it. But yeah, that plus Light Poacher could be really cool. And then using the alternate 6 Abyssal Socket chest and play around with that. It would be really, really interesting, I think. And I don't know if it would be good, but I would love to be able to do that. Now, I do want to talk about the Watcher's Eyes. There's a couple of changes here that I don't feel like make sense. Actually, all of them. The Clarity Watcher's Eye is probably like justifiable, but I think it was so cool to have this as a chase item. But pretty much all of these, I think Watcher's Eyes is probably probably right now the single most exciting item in Path of Exile. I feel like every time a Watcher side drops right now in the current state of Path of Exile, like obviously before these nerfs, and I do feel like they changed them in a bad way. But right now, if a Watcher side drops, I don't even care what's on the Watcher side, because it has such a potential for being good that it's really exciting. Even if the one I get is bad, at least it had a potential to be really cool. And there's so many chase Watcher sides, and they've nerfed a lot of those chase Watcher sides. And I feel like Path of Exile is really, really starting to struggle with chase items. Precision and the Clarity one are the most easy to justify in power. But I'm still sad that they're going away, because those are some things that are so exciting to get. And I understand that they're insane when they're like tied to auras that are so like cheaply with investment. But having a Watcher's Eye, you identify it and you see the clarity there, and you're just like, oh yes, jackpot, mom, I got the Clarity Watcher's Eye. Like, there's very few things that have that like scream down the microphone feeling, you know, or whatever. There's some nerfs to specters as well as some buffs to, you know, quality of life for summoners where you don't have to resummon things. Redemption sentries are still going to be fine, I'd imagine. Like, they were insane before, so now they'll probably be really good. As far as Atlas changes and stuff, we don't have like a list of where the new maps are yet, but I will do a video talking about that. Especially what I'll be hoping for is that I want Residence to be a low tier so that we can farm 6 things very easily. It's basically what I'm hoping for there. Residence drops the Dapper Prodigy Divination card, and yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. We'll be at a low tier because that gives a nice 6 thing. And I want to talk about the Zana mods as well. So we have Fortune Favors the Brave like normal at 3C. Then we have Abyss 2, Domination 2, Bloodlines 3, Nemesis 4, Beyond 5, Blight 8, and Delirium 16. Obviously, Blight and Delirium are insane moneymakers. They will be creating increased wealth discrepancy between like the rich people and the poor people, because somebody that's like, you know, playing a few hours a day and aren't 100% sure what they're doing are already not going to be doing Sextants, Scarabs, and Prophecies and stuff like that to increase the worth of their map, and then slapping in 16C worth of Delirium on top of that, which is obviously going to be worth it for like players that are investing. I'll be using it and stuff like that, and you'll see probably Empyrean will be running it on every single fucking map. But yeah, I think they're, you know, it's a bad thing for like more casual players, because it might not always be as worth it there, and harder to justify with that insane cost. Fortune Favors the Brave, however, getting a huge buff this league, making it super worth to run very, very often, especially on Trade League. And if you hit Blight or Delirium, it's like, nice. So very, very cool. Pretty happy. And we do have Beyond. So very, very happy with the Zana League mod. I'm sad about no Legion. That is a massive pain for SSF not having access to that. We're cool. It's cool. I don't know if I'm slightly disappointed or slightly happy about the patch notes. But like not feeling like strongly one way or another, I guess. I think the only thing, like, I'm excited about a lot of skills, like I said, like the things that I want to make league starters out of, and that's good. But I guess they were very short. I think the most disappointing thing for me about the patch notes was Essence Strain Contagion not being nerfed, which might sound counterproductive because you guys know that I play that build a shit ton. I guess I just like felt like it was time for a change up in the meta there. I think a lot of people, or most people, will be going 80 Contagion for the Awakener race. Obviously, with that being the build that I'm the most comfortable with too, it makes the most sense for me to do that as well. And I'll probably be... Very heavy contenders would be the Ignite Discharge. Be clunkier to play though, and a bit slower. Bladefall, Blade Blast, Chieftain. And then also I really want to do Crack Lance, dude. I'm calling it Crack Lance. It looks like it's on crack. It just sounds so fun. I want to see the numbers. It has to be good. Please don't make it shit. I want it. It needs to be my second build. If I die fairly early in the race, I'm probably just insta re-rolling Crack Lance. Because yeah, I just really, really want to play with Crack Lance. Crack Lance, Discharge, Firestorm. There's so many fun things. I never get tired of calling Crack Lance Crack Lance. And it just rolls off the tongue. Crack Lance, we're renaming it to that. But yeah, this was my TLDR of the patch notes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are excited for Heist. We're doing a podcast at 7 p.m. BST with Steel Mage and Quinn69. We're going to be going over the patch notes and talking about them. and stuff like that. So hopefully see you guys there. Other than that, I will not be streaming until Heist goes live because I will be pounding out League Start Guides for you guys and doing my best there. Hope you had an amazing day. Thanks for watching, and try to die less than I do. Good luck in Heist.